Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another amazing episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have David Koves. David is the founder and CEO of Red to Green Digital and a former Google employee and marketing industry vet with 10 plus years of experience. R2G's mission is to help digital companies achieve meaningful revenue growth through innovate advertising techniques. In 2000, they perfected an e-commerce strategy so powerful that it generated over 12 million in sales for a single client. Please help me welcome David with avoiding marketing mistakes.
This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
So my name is David Koves. I run and operate an e-commerce agency, and we focus on performance-based marketing, meaning Google, Facebook, and Amazon ads for different advertisers in the space. I myself used to work at Google. I spent 4 years there. I used to work with the Google ads side of the business. I'm actually Hungarian. I might have a little accent, so you might pick that up. I grew up in Hungary, in Europe, in Budapest. I was always pretty ambitious as to what I want to do with life and how I want to go about it. And I decided at 19 that I need to leave the country in order to be better, different. I just do something different than all the other friends that I had at the time. And, after a couple of years of studying abroad in Vienna and in Madrid, I was set on not joining any big corporations because I wasn't really a fan of, the big corporate structure. And guess what happened? Google reached out. And I was like, you know what? Let me rethink that for a second. So after that, I was like, well, this is a big enough company. I like them and they like me, more importantly. Yeah, we started working together, and I worked at Google for about 4 years, and I learned the craft of online advertising, and I learned the craft of how to talk to people, how to help them, and how to really fulfill my own potential, which was later on I discovered was more about helping people get better in the digital space. And that's really what led me to, number one, try to be the best at my job at Google. When I left, try to create a company that's a little bit different, that's a little bit more focused on approach that would place me in a position of a business owner. My journey, I would say, is being fulfilled by me being able to help all these different advertisers in the e-commerce space achieve their growth goals year in and year out.
Or your business, is it based on B2B or B2C?
We are helping other businesses get clients. So it's literally an e-commerce brand that wants to grow on Amazon, Google, or Facebook. We help them with their advertising, their creative, their copy. Hopefully they have a message to relate to the public that we can help translate into something that will turn into profit.
I want you to do this. I want you to talk to that business startup, that individual that has good product, it's product that people could use. But the issue is he or she, they're thinking that their product, all it takes to get it out there to the customer.
It's only part of it, right? You can have the best product in the world. If you don't know how to market it, you're not going to get too far. And then we have seen a lot of different examples, and I'm not going to say exact names, of mediocre products, but really good marketing. And then people buy it and people turn it into a really well-known brand. So I think having a good product is a really good first step. Then you have to understand your market, understand your pricing, understand where you are on the scale, and then either learn or work with a team that has the ability to do three things for you. And I think that's very important. Number one, provide you with creative input that you need in order to survive in this market, provide you with superior ad copy, and then provide you with the expertise that you require to tame these beasts of platforms like Facebook ads or Google ads.
I've seen business and seen companies that actually have great product that never really get it going. And then by the time they spend all their capital on the product, now another great company that has went out of business. So, that's why I wanted you to, really start with that. What is the most exciting part about what you do?
I think the most exciting part about what I do or what we do at RTG is the ability to help others really fulfill their dreams of launching a product that they feel so intimately connected to. I would much rather work with someone who has a product that they created than with someone who is selling something that 15 other people are selling. So the most fulfilling thing for me is when I can come in, I look at a product, I understand this could work for them, and then I see them grow from nothing or like very low level brand to something that makes over 8 figures per year. We had that happen with a very specific brand. They're called Calm Blanket, and they grew from nothing, selling weighted blankets, helping people with anxiety, helping people with just stress, and we grew them over 2 years. We grew them over $10 million in revenue. So that's really what fulfills me, and that's something that I'm going to tell my kids or my grandkids when I grow up. Because at the end of the day, you need something more meaningful than just grinding and making money.
What are some common mistakes that startups or just business in general that you have seen make over the years?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that one of the, let's say you have a product, right? And you have 5K to your name. It's not going to be enough for you to really see the results. So a lot of people spend all their money, take out loans and try to make it work. But the problem is that you have to sit down before you spend even a single dime and plan out where that money is going to go and at what point you're going to stop trying. It's almost like trading. Sometimes products don't work and you need to move on to the next one. But it's similar to trading. When you buy a stock and it keeps on going down, sometimes you got to pull the plug. So one of the most common mistakes is that people don't realize, number one, and they don't plan on stopping whenever they realize it's not going to work. That's really my first advice.
That's really good. That's really good. To start and to stop, basically having everything lined up, have an end of the road if if you ever
Yeah.
come to that point, when to get off the bus if you're on the bus. You said something. I really want you to kind of, if you can be realistic with us. You said $5,000, and you have somebody right now may think 5, 10, may think a certain amount is enough to start. So to help an individual as far as marketing, I'm talking about really going in on marketing. I'm not talking about marketing like Coca-Cola. I mean, that's, for, just really just average, for business startup, just a great marketing strategy, a great capital. If you was to coach someone, okay, this is a good amount to start off,
Yeah.
with your marketing campaign.
There could be products that pick up immediately. So it's really hard to pinpoint a certain amount. But I would say if you have maybe $20,000 to your name, you're at a good spot. And if you don't get discouraged. You can still start things, right? There's organic channels that you can try. You can go to Kickstarter and try to run a campaign, right? But if I would say if you wanna quantify it, 20 grand to your name would help you get at least a bit of publicity around your brand. And one big advice that I could give you is do not spread your budget too thin. Okay. So don't do 1K Google, 5K Facebook, 1K TikTok. Don't try all that, because even though it seems like a good strategy to diversify, the smaller the amount you spend on each platform, the longer the time it takes for your tests to prove themselves, meaning you might just spend all that money without any actual results. So focus.
Focus.
Yeah.
Man, that's good. That is good. Appreciate that. Laser focus. Based on your experience, what's a good platform to start advertising? Do it matter? Do it matter whether you do YouTube, whether you do Facebook, or if you say, okay, you can do Facebook if you was doing this type of service, or
Mhm.
YouTube if you was doing this type of service. All right, we all ears.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a slightly longer answer to that if you allow me to do so.
Absolutely.
Basically, the way I look at these platforms are as follows. Google, we call it Google an intent-based platform, meaning that you got to have someone search for your brand or search for a keyword, and then you show up and then they buy, right? But imagine if you're just coming up with a new brand, no one's going to search for it yet, right? No one knows it yet. So forget Google, at least as step one, forget it.
Gotcha.
YouTube is good for generating awareness. But again, one thing to consider, when did you ever actually watch a YouTube video and then watch the ad before and didn't press the skip button and then actually bought something and then you forgot about your original video that you wanted to watch? Almost never,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Meaning, don't waste your money. If you're tight on budget, don't waste your money on YouTube just yet, because that's more for awareness. Okay, people need to know about you, great, and then you can make money on YouTube later. But you gotta be focused. And what are you focused on? Focus on spending your money this way. Let's try to get you on Facebook. Okay, and then Facebook also has Instagram, which is built in. So basically, Facebook and Instagram are your two first channels that you're going to show up on. But it's not enough to buy a couple of stock photos and then put a label on it and then start advertising. So if you have, let's say, 20K on just advertising, I would spend 5 on creatives, make a couple good videos, make a couple of good images. If you're tight on budget, hire a friend and create a portfolio of images with really high quality content. After that, you can essentially write a couple of different variants of copy. We call them either short form, which would be a very quick couple lines, snappy or long form, which would tell a story, like your story, the brand story. So those are the two things I would actually put together and test. So by now you would have good creative that you spent money on, copy that you didn't spend a lot of money on, you just sat down and you just put it out, like that was your brainchild. And number three, either do it yourself or hire an agency to actually launch some campaigns for you so that you can properly test one channel, which would be, in my opinion, for a starting brand, Facebook. And once you see some results, once your return on ad spend is, let's say, 2x or more, then you can go on and do Google. Then you can set up something we call Google Shopping, anything else that would supplement your brand. But first things first, don't think about ads. Think about content, creative, copy. Once you got that covered, then go and do ads. That's my advice.
Wow. Red to Green Digital. What inspired you to begin this journey?
I started RTG because I was fortunate enough to work with over 100 different agencies back at Google. The program I worked on was a program for North America for small, medium-sized agencies, and we were handling about $100 million.
When was this?
6 years ago, right before I started my agency. So what is that? 2015.
Okay.
And I noticed something. I noticed that most agencies are focusing on one channel in particular. I call it a little bit more of a siloed approach. So they either only do Google, or only do Facebook, or only do email. What I really wanted to do, I wanted to become that one-stop shop for people. They have a brand, they understand the brand, they understand the mechanics of the brand, and that's all they need to know. They really do not need to know how everything else works, because that's my job. So what I decided to create, imagine you enter this big warehouse, right? And there is on the left, in the left corner, there's your optimizer team, right? On the right corner, there's people who are taking care of your creative and content. Ahead of you, there are all the copywriters that write all your copy. Behind you, all the developers who do your pages. You don't have anything to do. You literally have a one-time engagement that you come in and then you agree to work with, let's say, an agency. That's exactly my dream as to what I wanted to set up. And then all you have to worry about is the quality of your product, the pricing of your product, your customer service, the shipping, everything around the product that is your baby. You don't have to worry about how the car runs, because we are the mechanics. We're gonna make sure the car runs, and then you just gotta be the one sitting in it.
You said something earlier, and I want to go to that. So you talked about that 5K of creating, the photos and the videos. Is that something that Red to Green Digital take care of, or outsource, or that's totally separate from what you're doing?
What we do creative development, but we do it digitally, meaning that we use Photoshop. If you provide us with some raw materials, we actually turn them into content that then you can use in advertising. What I would suggest for any business owner really to do is go to a studio, if you have the funds, right? And then have your product professionally photographed and videoed, right? That's really what it comes to when I'm talking about high quality content. If you don't have the means, no problem. There are a lot of different companies out there that are doing way cheaper services. They also do something called UGC, user generated content. So essentially, at least the least you can have for maybe like $1,000 is a couple of videos of actual people reviewing your products and actual people giving feedback on how it is. And then those you can use for advertising later on. So long story short, we provide everything once you have the raw material, but in order for you to get there, we usually use our partner agency to get those shot in a studio environment.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I really like and love what you're doing, because I think this is it's a big issue in the business world, because entrepreneurs, they, having this vision to do what they need to do to help the world. But getting yourself out there, that's really a big issue for a lot of people. Even now versus 20, 30 years ago, you had the yellow page. It was very limited. It was very limited compared to all the options you have now. So I've seen companies, product was bad, but they marketing, their website, everything looked good. I mean, they may not have revolving customers. I mean, they have an upset customer, and they may last maybe 2 or 3 years, but they actually make millions in the beginning because of this amazing advertisement. And I just want to kind of speak to this, like, what are they doing? Because I want to help that business owner that has the product, that has the integrity. This is what's possible for you. So I want you to speak to that.
Okay, well, that's a very interesting topic, and makes it a different experience, because guess why all those brands are paying the big dollars to these agencies? Because you got to come up with a strategy that's different from everything else out there. But it's so saturated, it's really hard to come up with something that nobody has ever seen before, right? Like if you remember the Old Spice ad, with the guy on the horse,
Yeah.
or you remember the Squatty Potty ad with the unicorn, and then like all kinds of like who would have thought that you can make millions, if like hundreds of millions, with a simple stool, right? So the point is this: there are a lot of people that are going to make a lot of money because they are clever in terms of how they advertise their product, and really what they're really good at is advertising. They own a brand, but they're not really good at quality control. They're not really good at creating a better experience in the product. Their expertise lies on the other side. And there are other people, in my opinion, who have an amazing product, but they just cannot market it. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to make any money out of it. So what you need to understand as a business owner, you need to sit down and you need to kind of almost like create a table of strengths and weaknesses. Like, what am I good at as a business owner? Am I good on the fulfillment side, operations side? Am I creative? And then find help where you see a gap, right? For me in particular, right? If I don't know how to handle shipping details, operations, third-party agreements, then that's where I'm going to look for help, right? That's the difference. And what we are trying to do at RTG, we are trying to just put our brains together and be creative about how we can, like, even if you bring us the most generic product, how we can put a swing on it that will make it a little bit more desirable. That's our job.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's a knowledge bomb for the audience, and something that can really take us and help us reach our greatest potential. What is your advice on how to scale your business when you are stuck?
I would ask them questions. I would be like, what part are you stuck? I think if you're stuck here's what I would consider. Number one, I would have a really honest conversation with myself. Is your product really that unique and that different?
No.
Is there a need for your product? And I know sometimes it's a very hard conversations, but I got to tell you something. It's better to figure it out when you're 23, 25, that your product might not work, and then go to the next one that's going to make you millions, than sticking to something and relentlessly believing in something that may not be the best product for you. So when you're stuck, number one, to understand and figure out whether that product is really something that connects with people. If it is, and if it's a great product, then look at a couple things. Look at your pricing. Your pricing might be too high. Look at your website. Is this easy to navigate, especially on our phones? Like 80% of traffic nowadays are happening on your phones. So if, let's say, you have a great site on on a computer, but then there's a bug on a phone that you haven't realized because you never check it on your phone, guess what? You got to fix that. So check the product price, check your website experience, check the landscape in terms of how many competitors you have on the market. If you have 50, that's tough luck. It's really hard for you to really stand out. If you have 3, maybe you can be a little different. And then check really, I guess, the mission behind it, the real purpose, because people are emotional beings. Okay, we are extremely impulsive, meaning let's say if there's 15 different brands that you can buy for, I don't know, like a mug, right? Which mug are you going to buy? You're going to buy the mug with the writing that like resonates with you the most, right? If you're a dad and there's something written about, being the best dad in the world, whatever, then you might be inclined to buy something like that. Or if you're a football fan and your team is on that mug, guess what? You're going to buy that. So you got to understand what your product really delivers in terms of emotions, like play that particular angle, because once you're able to do that, the audience that you pick will resonate with it. That's the biggest thing in advertising. You got to be able to have a connection. So long story short, once you checked all these boxes and you have something that you found that could be unique about your brand, then you just got to double down on it, and you just got to grind, and you just got to try different angles, Facebook, Google, whatever, campaigns, organic email, messaging, whatever you can try. Don't give up. As long as you're convinced that your product is unique and it has the ability to connect with people, don't you dare giving up, because sometimes people give up right before being successful. Do your homework. Once you're convinced, don't give up. Go on. That's my advice.
Wow. That's another knowledge bomb. That is awesome. This is awesome, man. You gave and delivered some amazing values. How do we identify the mistakes we are making in our organizations?
That's really hard. So I think the best way I can put it is, before you start anything, have a plan. Okay. And I've seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the ones that are just starting out. They just like, well, let's see. I have a product. Let's see what happens. Let's spend $100, see what happens. You cannot just see what happens, because then you have nothing to compare against. So what you have to do, you have to have a plan. Where do I want to be within 6 months, 3 months, 1 month? And then compare your results. And really, if you're too far off, you gotta sit down again and you gotta see what's going on. In order for us to understand where we are, We need to be able to look back in the past and not just look forward in the future and daydream about how much money we're going to make. And that's a very important teaching
Yeah.
that a lot of people forget, because we get excited, we get enamored with the idea of, oh my god, I'm going to make so much money, everybody's going to buy my product. But the problem is that you have to take out the joy of it a little bit at the beginning, and you have to really put it on paper. This is the amount of money I want to make, and this is how I'm going to get there. And if you deviate from that plan, that's okay, because plans change. But at least you are aware of the fact that you deviated versus just flying as the wind blows, right? So that's plan it out, and then you have no issues with changing course or understanding whether you're in a good or a bad position.
David, this is what I want you to do. I want you to give us the David secret recipe for your marketing funnel.
So secret recipe, huh? I think really what it comes down to is, I'm going to repeat myself slightly here, is if you have a brand that you want to advertise, and no matter what level you're on, no matter whether you're starting out today or you're already making $1 million a year or you're making $50 million a year, it's always going to be coming down to a few extremely important factors. Number one, make sure your brand connects with your audience. Make sure your brand is unique. How can you do that? You look around, you look at the market, you see how many people are selling the exact same thing you're selling. And then you're also trying to understand whether you're addressing a pain or you're addressing just, I call it a vitamin, right? It's a vitamin versus a pill. Wow. And I know that is a basic marketing term, but if people are not going to take vitamin, they only take it because they think it's going to help them become healthier in the long term, right? Yeah. Guess what happens when when you have a headache? You're not going to freaking wait. You're going to take that Advil like right away, right? Yeah. So your product needs to be the Advil. Your product needs to be an immediate solution to a chronic, quote unquote, pain.
That's good.
That your customer has. Think about that. And if you find a product like that, boom, go with it. There's no secret sauce to it. It's really just sitting down, planning it out, understanding your market, creating the really high quality creatives, images and videos. Once you have a market, once you have your creatives, then you sit down and you put your story out there, you put your heart out there. So you create a connection, the emotional part of the game. So now we have market fit, emotion, check, and we have amazing high quality creatives. And once you have all that, then you come to us and we help you advertise.
Wow. Oh man, this is good. This is good. This is good. David, I want to switch a little bit. I want to talk about leadership, because even now, I mean, leadership is still a big problem within organizations, getting to leadership positions and they feel that they're a leader. What are some practical leadership growth tips, tools, advice that you could share with the Lead to Greatness community to help us reach our greatest potential?
I think leadership is is an extremely popular topic nowadays, but it's very difficult for a lot of, I would say, A-type personalities to be really good at it, because in order for you to lead, you need to be able to trust, step back, and let others do what you think you can do best. And let me repeat that. You need to be able to let others do what you think you can do best. Meaning you think you can do it better, but you still need to let other people do it. And I think that's, for me, leadership is really about letting go, and it's about understanding that you may not be the smartest guy in the room. You might actually have to rely on other people eventually. And in order for your leadership capabilities or abilities to really grow, you need to open yourself up for alternative solutions to what you think you can do best. So that's exactly what I've gone through and going through every single day. And I think it comes down to a couple things. Number one, you got to trust your people. If you're working with a team, you got to let them do what they want to do. You got to enable them, empower them. And then number three, I'm going to go back to my original advice. You got to check back. You got to look back. You got to measure, and you're going to measure against performance. Because, for example, you're playing a game, right? You're playing football. You're playing soccer. You know what? In 3 weeks, you're not going to remember what happened. You're just not going to remember how many goals you scored, or how many tackles, or how many minutes of the game you were good versus bad, unless you measure. So for me, about leadership is all about enabling, empowering, and then sitting down and measuring against what used to be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And as a result, you feel better as a leader about enabling others and still having your business grow. As an e-commerce entrepreneur, I believe that if you have a brand, you have to strategically pick the people that you work with, and you have to let them do their job, and then you have to measure performance against your expectations, and then you have to grow, or obviously, if you're not happy, obviously you have to take action. But for me, that's the biggest part. Hire people that are smarter than you. Let them do their job the best they can, and they will feel fulfilled, and you can sit back and enjoy the benefits of your leadership.
Wow, that is good. That is good. Another knowledge bomb. That is awesome. We're dealing with digital marketing here. So digital marketing. All right. So you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have
Google,
LinkedIn,
everything. Yeah.
you have all these platforms. And let's say these platforms, you have great following on there. Should we rely on these platforms? What are some things we can do to get traffic to our website?
Yeah, I think you should definitely rely on these platforms. These platforms are pretty much your gateway to your audience. So you should definitely rely on them. The question as to what extent you should rely on them is a different one. So I think, let's say a first time marketer, right? They should try to build their audience organically just as much as they're trying to build it through paid ads. So as a new brand, you have to be able to create partnerships with different organizations, groups, or events, or anything that is similar to what you're trying to offer. That's for free, right? As a new brand, you have to be able to showcase, the different values of your product, and as a result, people will come to you organically. As a new brand, you can also start advertising and putting money towards it, but don't forget that there's other people doing the exact same thing. So it's going to be a frenzy when it comes to paying for all those clicks. So that would be my last resort. In order for you to build your list and build your email list, you have to look at organic marketing. You have to look at partnerships, which are huge. If you're good at creating relationships, then you will be good at getting an audience that somebody else built out, but they will allow you to get closer to that audience. And that's huge because that's how you gain your initial first couple steps of traction.
Yeah.
And once you have that, then you have a couple of sales. Once you have a couple of sales, you can reinvest that into ads, and it's a circle. It's basically, it goes from A to B to C and back to A. So essentially, as you grow, you'll see that any progress you make, you will use it towards the next step that you want to take.
Great information, man. We're definitely going to be knowledgeable for this. I want to ask you one more question. In your transition from Google to RTG, and what is the biggest lesson you made in transitioning?
And that's a good one, and I thought about it quite a bit actually, because you have to understand, coming from Google to the unknown is a very different experience. So the first thing that I realized is that I know nothing. It's basically like Game of Thrones, like Jon Snow. I knew nothing other than my job, other than the particulars of Google Ads, which was everything I did for 4 years. So the biggest learning is this: no matter where you are, no matter what you do, no matter how successful you are, you could be just starting out, or you could be successfully have sold 3 businesses for multiple $1 million. You will always find things in life that you know nothing about, and that's what's exciting. That's what keeps us going, learning more about certain areas. And no matter how many years I spent in digital advertising, now it's been over, let's say, over 10 years. There can be every day I'm learning something. So the biggest learning: never get complacent, never just sit on your laurels, and just be happy with what you have, because guess what? I'm 34. So guess what? All those 21, 20 year olds is just going to overtake you in 2 seconds if you just stop. So you better get going, man. That's my best advice. I'm big on personal development, for example. So I believe that first you have to really take care of your house inside in order for you to really take care of everything else around you. So the number one book that I would recommend people to look at is called Atomic Habits. And it's written by James Clear. It's literally about creating a routine around your life, including your personal life and your work. Because the biggest distraction nowadays, and the biggest reason why we are not successful at what we're doing, is because we are not methodical about our approach as to how we work. So people just wake up, they go to work, they open their laptop, and they just do whatever comes at that time. That is extremely inefficient. So read that book. It's called Atomic Habits. It's going to teach you how to have different blocks in the day for deep work, for meditation, for workout, for whatever it is. And then it's going to really help you succeed and be very structured. So that's one of the books that I would recommend. There's no really like one marketing book that I would recommend. I think the best resources are on YouTube. So anything you want to learn about a specific platform, you just YouTube it, and there's so much good content. So that's, in terms of expertise, that's what I would recommend doing. But again, for me, the biggest life-changing book or experience that I was fortunate enough to go through is the one that helps you personally create a better routine around your own life, and that will just result in better work ethic.
Awesome. Getting the mind right. Getting the mind
Yeah,
right. I realized probably you have to have more of the right mindset than anything else.
100%.
With all these things going on in business, tiring and all the things that goes on and the stress that comes along with it. Man, I thank you so much for the information that you shared with us. If someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Sure thing. So yeah, if anyone wants to talk and talk about anything really, they can reach out to me at David at r2gdigital.com, and that two is with a number. Or they can just visit our website, which is r2gdigital.com, and we'll get in touch with you, and then we'll see if we can help you.
Yes, yes. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much, David, for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. This was a great experience.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.